This is episode 3 of Civil Talk. Introduce yourself, my friend.
What's up, guys? Anything I can say or do will be used against me in the court of YouTube. My name is Charles. I've known Matt for almost 3 years. I started off getting cut by him when I was working corporate, and I had this amazing dream to travel and live overseas as a digital nomad for half a year. And it was funny that we talked about me doing this. I ended up leaving the country and living overseas, and now I'm back about to go corporate again. So excited to share my story. Prior Navy, I did 10 years working in helicopters, and I've been very fortunate to live in Tampa since 2020.
Awesome. Very nice, detailed introduction. Number one, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you, to me, are such an awesome dude, and we have I feel like we're on such a similar journey, as far as things that we're into, things that we like, the way we see life, as far as living like an unbridled life and following your heart.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. I feel like if you're not doing it, then you don't have a real sense of what it feels to really live.
Yeah. Well, it's we have this. It's just certain people you meet, you have that energy with, and you have that connection with, whether it be male or female, or even animals. Just sometimes you're able to build that bond, and it's natural,
Right. It's like a natural, energetic, resonance. We resonate on, that frequency of energy.
It's probably because we're both New Yorkers at heart,
Oh, wait a minute. Where in New York are you from?
So my dad was lived in Long Island and in the Bronx, and then I was born on Long Island. I moved when I was a year and a half. So my dad still claims me as a New Yorker, but I grew up in Georgia. But I have the Long Island water in my veins,
Of course.
I know what a good pizza tastes like. That's for sure.
See, that never leaves you.
Yeah.
Pizza, bagels. Also feel like Chinese food as well. That could be
Yeah.
New York.
All my New Yorker friends on Christmas, they're all Jewish, so they don't celebrate Christmas. And whenever I was in the military, I was stationed in San Diego. And sometimes I wouldn't fly back for the holidays because it was expensive. I was a young kid, not making a lot of money. And we would go eat Chinese food for Christmas dinner,
I love Chinese food for Christmas.
And it was the coolest thing ever. There'd be a bunch of Jewish guys in there and me. And we'd be eating egg rolls, and my Chinese dinner was always at a Chinese restaurant, or my Christmas dinner was always at a Chinese restaurant.
I love that. Hey, so alright, let's talk about when around the time we first met, I was cutting your hair, and you were telling me, hey, I'm thinking about, leaving everything, leaving my job, going to Thailand for a year. And I was like, dude, I've been to Thailand.
Yeah.
I went there alone, best trip of my life. I learned, so much about myself. I learned so much about, I think I just learned more about myself than anything, honestly. I think just experiencing the culture, for me was whatever I experienced and observed, I kind of took that away, but took that with me.
Yeah.
But I didn't really I feel like most of what I learned was because I went alone.
Which is the best way to go,
It really is, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
You learn a lot about yourself when you travel alone, especially to another country, because we're so used to Western culture.
Yeah.
And the way things are here, and you go to Southeast Asia, and it's so much different. I mean, everybody is happy. They call Thailand the land of smiles, and nowhere else in the world that I know of you can get great pad thai for 50 cents on the alley from
Dude.
some lady that's been cooking there for 60 years, and her mom cooked there before that, her, and then her mom's mom. So yeah, you know, funny enough, I was reading a book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, and he talks about, like, you know, the red light is light telling you to stop, yellow light's telling you to slow down, and green light's telling you to go. And I have made a lot of money in sales, and I've saved money. I've always been very frugal, and you know, just things lined up. And my grandpa passed away, and one of his bucket list items was to travel to Southeast Asia. He never got to do it because life hits you in the face sometimes, you know? So after he passed away, and you know, I reached a tipping point of depression, I was like, I gotta see what else is out there. I need something to kind of wake me up or enlighten me. So I
didn't know that.
Yeah.
By the way.
I mean, you know, unfortunately, when you work in a sales position, you get so focused on the numbers, and when you start making, you know, for me at least, it was great money. I realized that my driving force for waking up was to make more money, you know, and there came a point to where I kind of lost myself. So, you know, I ended up selling my truck and getting out of my lease and dropping my dog off at my mom's house. You know, God bless her heart. I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand.
I remember you told me.
Yeah.
It was a one-way ticket.
One-way ticket. I had no return flight. I had no idea where I was going to go in Thailand. I had a backpack. You recommended a few spots, I think Chiang Mai and Pai and Phuket, and I took off to see the world and find myself, and it was the best thing I've done in my entire life. Hands down, you know.
Dude, me too, brother. Me too. Like, and it's funny that, well, not funny, but I feel like that is what makes Thailand such a unique place.
Yep.
Is because I feel like, you know, you said that you were depressed when you went there.
Yeah.
I remember in my life, I was feeling, I'll say I was not feeling like whole.
Yeah.
I did have a level of depression, I remember. And I felt like I needed just to like get away.
Yeah.
And I needed to like be by myself, but also explore and like, you know, I loved like Thai food.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
always been fascinated with like Asian culture.
Yeah, same, like
I've always
Buddha
just, like,
and the
artwork
temples
yeah,
and-
exactly. I was Buddhist and like I was like, you know, I want to visit like these Buddhist temples. So like, you know, that was like a big reason in me going on the explorative side. And then and then like once I got there, I found, you know, that there were so many people doing the same thing, and like everybody was out there trying to find themselves or like just trying to get lost and see where they end up, you know. So like that made it such a like, you know, like I said, like a unique place where a lot of people, you know, that energy just like attracts, you know, us types of people who felt a feeling of like being lost, and you know, we wanted to become found, you know. So like I totally understand that, man. And like when you were on your journey, I felt like I was like right there with you.
Yeah.
And like you were going to some of the same places, and I was just like, I was so
Flashbacks.
happy. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And then you were going, and then I saw you going to like all these other places, and I was like, oh
Like,
man,
yeah,
I wish I was with you.
Yeah.
I was like, man, your journey, like what I did, like I was there for like 2 weeks, but then you were there for like a year, and you got to see like so much more like depth than like, you know, what I feel like I saw. And like next time I go, like I'm gonna be asking you next. I'm gonna be like, so
Where's the spot?
yeah.
What's crazy is like I only plan to do a month. Once I got there, you know, my goal was to do a month there and then go to like 4 other Asian countries for a month. And 3.5 weeks in, I get into a motorcycle accident. and I had to extend my visa with immigration because I had to go to the hospital every day for like 2 weeks to get my bandage, like my skin cleaned. I mean, it got pretty tore up on my side, and because of that, I was able to go to a few other spots in Thailand I had no idea about. Like, I didn't know there's a place called Chiang Rai or Koh Samui or Koh Tao or Koh Phangan or Koh Phi Phi or, you know, James Bond Island. So many iconic places that I just overlooked that were given to me, you know, as an opportunity from, you know, God or Allah or the spirit up there or whatever, from pain, you know, from my pain of the accident, the motorbike accident. I was able to go see these incredible places. But I always feel that there's four people in Thailand. There's young kids on holiday, usually people from the UK. Like, Americans don't really go on a sabbatical when they're after high school or college. Then you have the old people that are retired, usually from the UK or Australia. Then you have like the younger people like us that are just going to seek out something other than their Western culture.
Trying to find yourself.
Yeah, and then you have like married couples that are digital nomads. You know, so for me, it really helps me kind of program in my mind what type of partner I'm looking for. And she definitely has to be someone that loves to travel. You know, that's just travel for me is the reason I joined the military, the Navy, was to be able to go see different cultures. So my trip over there is definitely very impactful, for sure.
It's awesome, man. So like, you know, you said that you left your job.
Yeah.
You left your dog. You left your like culture. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Also, like, you know, until you actually get there, and you know that goes for me as well. Like, you totally leave your culture and like life as you know it, the way that it like rolls when you go to another country. Things are different.
There are days I spoke no English. I mean, I couldn't talk to anybody. I was just using Google Translate to speak Thai.
Wow.
Because the areas I was in, you know, it was during COVID, and you know, I was one of the first Americans over there that only had to do like a 2-day quarantine. You know, like they just opened up. When I was in Vietnam, I was the first airplane to be in Vietnam in 2 years. So being in a lot of these Asian countries as like one of the first English-speaking people, not only were they very hospitable and kind and friendly, but they were patient with me as I tried to like translate English to Thai or English to Vietnamese, you know?
Yeah, they're very like kind, compassionate.
Yeah.
It's a very kind, compassionate culture in Southeast Asia. And that's something that I loved. Like, I was like you said, you know, not being able to fully communicate. Like most people, most of the Thai residents that I spoke to, I feel like most people would speak English, but then there were some that couldn't. And I certainly don't know any Thai. I know Kap Kun Kap.
Kap Kun Kap, Sawadee Kap, Roy Mak Mak.
I don't even, you're saying stuff I don't know.
So a Roy Mak Mak means like very delicious. So like if you have like a shot or a food, like it's like a very strong sense of saying like, it's almost like a very extreme thank you. This is delicious, this is great. You can say a Roy Mak Mak to like this haircut, this is a great haircut. And then you can say a Roy Mak Mak to the pad thai was good. So it has like 20 different meanings.
It basically says like that was dope.
That was dope. yeah, for sure, that was dope.
That's awesome. Where were we? We were on a train going somewhere, and then we kind of
talk about just how like the cultural shift is you have to adapt to their ideologies, and it's almost the most beautiful thing. It really inspired me to learn a different language, because you go over to like an area to where people have so little. You know, they're living in like a hut. You know, they might not have food that day, and they've managed to learn pretty damn good English.
Yeah.
And we're over here with access to everything, and a lot of us just speak one language. And if we hear somebody speaking something else, we think that's not American, which is such a naive way of thinking, right? We are a melting pot of different cultures in the U.S. So for me, traveling made me really curious to learn different languages. I mean, if they could do it, I could do it, right? So every country I went to, I would be on Duolingo at nighttime after I was editing videos, trying to learn how to communicate the next day. And I'd practice, I'd fail miserably, and it was cool, like just trying out a different language in the area you're living, So that was awesome.
That's awesome, man. And I was gonna say, like, one of my questions was gonna be, what, I mean, if you can elaborate on it, but I think that you answered it to a degree. What were some of your takeaways, from your trip, as far as like, cultural takeaways and learning Thai?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And did you say Vietnamese as well?
Yeah, I learned some Vietnamese, which is funny, and I'll tackle your question in a second. But for me, like, I like to be a very clean person, So I get manicures and pedicures, and coincidentally, there's a place in Tampa that's they're all Vietnamese, and it was really cool to come back and go get a pedicure because my nails were gross, right? And speak to them in Vietnamese. And just the smile on their face, having like a white American guy speak Vietnamese to them, was really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So my takeaways were, definitely understanding that to really succeed as a digital nomad, you want to engulf yourself in the culture, whether it's, eating local or learning the language or, maybe trying some food that you wouldn't think was very normal,
Wait a minute. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when I was in Peru a few years ago, I tried guinea pig. But in Thailand, I tried like shark eyes. I tried, it's very taboo, but I tried shark fin soup. There are a few things that just you wouldn't see on an American restaurant menu.
Yeah.
Even on like a Thai menu that I tried overseas. So I would say, try the food, engulf yourself in the culture. There's 2 universal languages that no matter where you're from, everybody speaks it. You can laugh. A laugh is universal, and a smile is universal. So just smile a lot.
I love that.
Laugh often.
I love that. That is so true, bro. I feel like that's how I'm like getting around. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
if there's a language barrier, just laugh or smile, and they're probably gonna laugh back.
No, it's so true, man. Because everybody, like, there's more like communication is more than like speaking.
Yeah.
It's like body language is a big part of it. So that's so true, man. Like, you can communicate even if you think, like you said, you're failing miserably.
Yeah.
But as you know, that's part of the process, which, sharpens your skills eventually. So like, it's important to fail, to actually even try to attempt to say some of these words, that are so foreign.
I call it failing forward.
Exactly. So that's awesome.
So yeah, those were my takeaways, and I'd also probably add one more. I would say that don't be afraid to do things that make you feel uncomfortable.
Like what?
I wrote on
What did you do there?
So there is a motorcycle tour called the Ha Giang Loop in Vietnam, to where you're literally riding on like a trail, maybe 3 foot wide, overlooking you to your left or your right, depending on where you're at, is like a 20,000 foot drop mountainside. And you're going through like these small trails to these tiny villages to where they don't even have running water. They're catching their food and eating it. You feel like you're back in like the 1900s in these deep Vietnamese cities. And there's a motorcycle tour I did to where I rode in the back of a motorcycle with this guy, and it was a tour guide, a tour group, something that I was very nervous doing. I mean, we were going 50 miles per hour, with the possibility of you falling off, and it was definitely very, very, very thrilling. You know, it's something that I will have my memory bank forever was the Hajjang Loop. So super cool.
Wow.
What is the origin story behind why you named your business what you named your business?
Civil grooming?
Yeah.
Oh man. So check this out. And I feel like it's very like, I saw it at the time, but as I kind of like live out and like, you know, move forward with the brand, it helps me to, it becomes more defined and like deepens. So I was starting this line. I wanted to start a product line.
This is here in New York.
This is when I was in New York. I'm sorry, let me go into detail. I was in New York. I had just moved back to New York. This was probably like my second year in New York, and I had helped to open this barbershop in Brooklyn. It was like the first like high-end barbershop in Brooklyn. We had hair products there, but we didn't have shaving products. And I wanted to start a product line. I went to, after barbering for 11 years, I got my my barber license through an apprenticeship. So I just like worked hands-on in a barber shop for like a couple of years, got my license. Also did like a community college course for like the bookwork, like a cosmetology course.
You were the apprentice. I was an apprentice too once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, I did an apprenticeship. I got my license, and then I wanted to learn how to do women's hair as well and do like hair color. So I ended up going to the Aveda Institute, and I learned about the founder of Aveda, Horst Reckelbacher. He has a really cool story. He was originally from Germany, and he ended up going to India, and while he went to India, he was studying Ayurvedic medicine and treatments, and he just had this like eureka moment, and he was like, I can put these principles to hair products. So he developed a hair product line with Ayurvedic treatments as like the core foundation. So like, and then he ended up, just ended up becoming really successful. And so I just loved his story, and I was getting really into hair products, and I thought it'd be a really good business venture to move into, being that it was like a new passion for me in the hair industry. So, long story short, too late for that. Long story short, I was trying to think of a name of the product line because the barbershop that I was working at didn't have shaving products, but there were hair products, and so I was like, oh, maybe I can start with a shaving line. And I asked the owner of the shop if I could, launch a line there, and he was like, yeah, he was totally supportive, which was very cool. I was like, okay, I need to come up with a name, and I was literally shampooing someone, and those like political cartoons?
Yeah.
Like, this is what came to my mind. It was a guy with a gun, like one of those long guns, long revolvers, and there was another guy at the end of the gun with his finger in the hole, and he said, let's be civil about this, and he was like smiling at the other guy.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and so and so I was like, all right, that's gonna be the tagline, let's be civil about this, and I was like, the brand is gonna be called Gent Grooming. And so I had a friend come up with the logo, the logo and the branding, and then I looked up the trademark copyright.
Taken.
I'm sorry, the trademark it wasn't taken, but there were a lot of potential
Like similarities toward
right potential conflicts.
Yeah.
To where I could get sued if I'm using Gent because it's such a generic name. A lot of brands have it, so I was like, instead of that, I gotta find something different. And so, because I need a trademark. So I started just observing other brands that had like their name in the tagline.
yeah.
I started seeing it like in billboards and stuff like that, magazines.
It's weird how the universe works to where it starts appearing in your eyes,
Exactly. That's what happened, man, with like the let's be civil about this. That image just like came to my head out of nowhere. Like, I don't know why. I know why, because it's revealing itself now. That's the awesome thing, because like when things like that happen, at first it's like you don't know why, but then one day, if sometimes there's mystery that like you'll never know. But like in this case, and in some cases, like it does reveal itself, and you're like, oh wow, this is the reason why.
That's how my tagline came for like my live, laugh, travel mantra. It's not only like a YouTube like tagline or like a YouTube ethos, but it's also like those are the three components I think which make a happy life. You get to live more, laugh more, travel more. I think those three components can, no matter your income class or your age or your whatever, I think those three things can really help. So Civil Grooming is not only an awesome brand, I've used it. I got a sea salt spray from you. Awesome, man. I wake up in the morning some days with like flat hair, kind of like tangly, and I throw some sea salt spray in there. And it's like, you know how when you go to the ocean and your hair feels amazing after you get out of the ocean?
Yeah.
That's how it felt. It's like thick but pliable, and yeah. I use it every day. I like it.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Like, it means a lot.
When I was looking up, I see like, because I'm on YouTube and I watch people, and my favorite niche, I guess, is probably like, maybe style sometimes. And all these guys that are, that have great hair, they're all using, sea salt spray.
Yeah.
And I never used it until we talked about it, and now I'm definitely hooked on it.
So yeah, like, and then I never really had like a story for Civil. Like I never had like, that story that like makes a brand. I never really had that. And
you got to think about it though, like you've probably cut hair of people that are very far left, very far right, in the middle, gay, straight, Jewish, Catholic, lovers of hip hop, lovers of rock. And in this chair, you have a civil conversation and come to understanding, because again, like the best way people can bond is over haircuts and food. Like everything else goes to the side. It's just human conversation, which we need to get back to. It's so sad to see like the way we're divided as a nation and as a culture, but things like food and haircuts help you, reestablish what the importance is, and it's communication.
Right. And that is like, like to be civil is like, like it goes back to like that drawing, like let's be civil about this.
Yeah.
Let's like, instead of like, dwell on our differences, let's see where, we all connect.
Yeah.
Let's see where we all, have similarities, and this. Let's see how we can, be a voice to one another, or like, a light to one another to help each other see through this, sometimes dark and dismal world.
Yeah.
So like, that's the story now, man. The story is all about like, helping people become aware, or like encouraging awareness of like, we could all live in civility. We could all be civil with one another. We could all be charitable toward one another, empathetic, kind. And also we can all share our passions with each other. Like travel, or like
music,
like just the zest of life, the things that make life, spicy and fun and interesting. So like, yeah, that's what it's all about, man. A little bit of
The
this
best.
here.
I like the how this is like really, it holds your hair. It doesn't feel heavy, but it gives you a matte look with like a little bit of shine, enough shine to where it isn't overwhelming, but the matte to where it's like that dry, you know.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man.
So can you just like share really quickly, like what, you know, while the hairdryer was going, like we're talking about, you know, tattoos, like businesses, you know, we think businesses are like a bit more like hire friendly with, you know, people with tattoos now because it's
Yeah.
more like socially accepted. And can you explain like your outlook on that?
Yeah, I mean, they're opening up their eyes to where what matters is results, not what you look like. So for some that judge me on whether or not I'm affluent in business because I have tattoos, you could use the same catch-22 because the person, I think it's honestly, and people can disagree, it's a form of almost racism. You know, it's you're making an assumption off somebody's appearance. Prejudice, you know. Yeah, prejudice is definitely a better word. And I've never been one to judge somebody off their appearance. So if my business colleagues are offended by my tattoos, then, you know, say they're 80 pounds overweight, I should be offended that they don't take care of their health. You know, how shallow would that thought be?
Right.
So I think the business world's definitely opened up more towards tattoos. And the reason is because you don't need to have a college degree to be successful. You know, especially in today's time, you could honestly start a YouTube channel or start a podcast or start even doing anything you want and be successful just based off your passion.
Which isn't, it's not easy. Like,
No,
I mean,
no.
you know, I have not attained, you know, any type of, you know, big numbers social media wise yet. I wouldn't even say that's the goal, but I feel like, you know, if you're doing what you do on a steady basis and like, you know, you're doing it passionately, it's just like what's gonna happen.
It'll
most
happen.
likely.
People will see your passion.
But like,
You know?
I feel like, you know, some people look at that and they're like, oh, this person, they're just an influencer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, like these people are putting in hours, like, you know, creating content is not, it takes a long time.
And I thought that before I started creating YouTube content. I was like, man, this would an easy job. It's because they don't want to work hard. And then I started filming myself and scripting and editing and doing the videos and doing the uploads and coming up with catchy thumbnails and catchy titles. And the entire process, I was putting in, you know, 70 hours a week while traveling overseas. You know, I would go work. For me, it was working because I was interviewing people in Thailand and going on all these tours. I'd come back and edit from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I'd try to upload by 8 a.m. the next day, which is, you know, 8 p.m. here. So it's definitely a hard job. I think people underestimate content creation because you're a director, you're an editor, you're the actor, you're doing everything all by yourself. Like after this video is done, you gotta edit it, you gotta do voice, you gotta do audio, you gotta do a thumbnail, you gotta do the description, you gotta figure out what time is best for my audience to watch this video on YouTube. So,
Even something simple takes a long time.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Speaking of interview, we're gonna get you to your interview, which you're gonna rock.
Yeah.
And but before you go to your interview, I want to touch back to what we were talking about. You know, the state of the states.
Yeah.
What is it that you feel like can happen to like make people come together? Like for there to be like no, like this side, that side.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for people to be like, hey, we're all Americans, we're all people, like we're all like in this together. Like let's.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your opinion, like needs to happen?
I think we need to look past skin color, or look past education, look past, you know, whether we're skinny or fat or heavy or thin, and start understanding that we're all human. We're all trying to make our way in this crazy world. We're all, you know, I like to use a phrase that a lot of Buddhists use. We're all temporary souls in a, we're all life-lasting souls in a temporary human vessel, and who knows if this is our first life or our last life, and we're all trying to make do. And with that being said, it's just we need to help out our human species, and there's opportunity to help somebody, whether it's opening the door, putting the shopping cart back, or not being an asshole if somebody pulls in front of you while driving. Like little small acts of kindness, go a long way. So just being more compassionate, opening up your emotional intelligence levels, and it may sound a little harsh, like not playing the victim. Like we all have unfortunate circumstances, whether you were, born with a silver spoon or born with, not as fortunate situations. And by not playing the victim and understanding that you need to have a victor mentality and surround yourself around positive people. If you don't have that, thank God we have access to books. And through books, I've met a lot of great mentors through those pages, and found out who I was. And there's one race, it's the human race, and we have so many people on the left and the right trying to divide us intentionally, so they can go and do their own agenda, and it's the way it's always been. So for me, it's just accepting people for who they are, and what Marlon would say, it's just like one love,
He's not there anymore.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone. We have Jimi Hendrix over here still.
He was actually the artist Shaq. Shout out to Shaq. Amazing guy, an artist. Took the painting, I'm kind of switching the vibe up, so he took it when we did the first episode.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that episode, go back and see episode 1.
Check it out.
But yeah, I love that, man. I love, I feel like what you said was, we need to start at kindness, compassion, and empathy.
Yeah.
And if we could start there, then man, like
You're gonna be civil.
Let's be civil about this.
Be civil about
Totally. Yo, man. Thank you so much.
Always appreciate you, bro.
Always appreciate you. And kick ass at that interview. I know you will.